Jake here for Extreme Terrain, and today I'm taking a look at the Red Rock cold air intake with a polished finish, fitting 2007 to 2011 3.8 liter Jeep Wrangler JKs. This intake is great for the JK owner who's seeking a simple way to get a little more sound and performance out of their rig, all at a very budget-friendly price tag. This is a bolt-in, no tune required intake that provides you similar benefits to the big name brands for one of the lowest prices in the whole segment. What we've got here is a pretty nice little piece of kit. The filter itself is a reusable multi-layered oil design, so this is going to do a great job of filtering out dirt and dust, but it also makes maintenance easy. So you don't need to worry about replacing this filter. You can just clean it and re-oil it when it gets dirty, and then you're back on the road. It's a good money savings in the long run. And that filter's got some nice deep pleats as well, so in addition to the oiled surface, you've got a lot of surface area here to catch that dirt and debris. In addition to that, you get this nice aluminum polished intake tube, which feels quite good in your hand, and it's going to add some nice visual interest to your engine bay. Now, these aluminum tubes also add some cool intake noise due to the resonance of the metal, so you're going to get to hear your engine sucking in the air. And to me at least, intake noise is the best because it's usually quiet when you're just puttering around town at smaller throttle applications, but when you really get into it, you get a nice loud intake noise coming from underneath the hood. Now, speaking of something that's interesting, perhaps the most interesting part of this kit is that it comes with a heat shield as well. It's a pleasant surprise to have included here since many less expensive cold air intakes don't include a heat shield, so they aren't necessarily cold air intakes. Now, having this piece here means that your engine is going to be more easily able to pull in cooler air as it separates the filter from the rest of the hot engine bay. Now, cooler air means better combustion, and better combustion, of course, means more power. And since this intake does not require a tune, you can just bolt this all on and enjoy. However, I say that with the caveat that if you do want to get the most out of your intake setup, a custom tune is going to help you do that. We're not talking huge power gains here by slapping this on. And again, if you want to make more power with it, a tune is going to be the way to go, though it is not required for this setup. The heat shield and the intake tube here are both constructed from high-strength aluminum. While the heat shield is finished in this nice textured black powder coat, the intake tube is again polished to make a nice visual accent. That aluminum construction makes both of them light, durable, and heat resistant, so they should look good and stay corrosion-free for a long time to come. And like I mentioned earlier, that filter is again the multi-layer oil design, so it too is a pretty nice piece and should provide you a good upgrade versus your stock setup as well. In addition to just having more surface area, it's going to be better at filtering stuff out. However, the best part here, folks, well, that's the price. Coming in at just under $200, this is one of the least expensive intakes you can get for this generation of Jeep. But despite the budget-friendly price tag, you're still getting a nice quality item for your money, and as compared to other intakes on the market, you're going to feel similar types of gains in overall performance. So I would say that this one is going to be a good option regardless, but especially so if your build is a bit more budget-focused. As far as installation goes, this one comes in at an easy 1 out of 3 on our difficulty meter, and you should budget about an hour to get the job done. This is a relatively simple install, it's straightforward, and the intake is easily accessible on the JK. Plus, you get all the clamps and connectors and hoses that you need as well, even some weather stripping to go around the edges of that heat shield to help keep the hot air out. But enough of us talking about it, let's go ahead and throw it over to one of our XT customers now who's going to walk you through that process.
All right, here we got our 10mm socket, 8mm socket, a little extension in case we need it. I don't think we'll need the large ratchet, Allen key set, and a flat screwdriver. Here is the old one. So we're basically going to be replacing all of this here. I'll remove this, replace that, take this off, eliminate this box, and all that fun stuff that's in there. I just went ahead and put my hood up all the way, so it's just out of the way and I don't have to try and squeeze in there around this little fella. Start by taking the IAT sensor off, or your intake air temperature sensor. Pull this little red guy back, push down on that, and it slides right off. Tuck it out of the way, as we don't want to hurt it. Next, we come around to the other side. This is your PVC hose. Just give a little twist. That looks like it's been rubbing a little bit. I need to fix that. We'll deal with that later. Next, we're going to remove the hose clamp, holding this to the throttle body. And this whole assembly should lift out. Lift up and away, and the whole thing comes free. These little posts go inside 3 of those little guys right down there. Now we remove that little sensor out of here. Might need a little persuasion, but it should just pop right out of there. Go. We'll be using that in the next one. I went ahead and put the bolts through and then a washer. So we'll get an Allen nut on this side, washer, 8mm locking nut. And I just went and installed them all where they're at. Now I'm going to tighten those up and go on to the next step. Just to kind of let you know where we're headed. This will be sitting right in there. So next we got to remove that 8mm bolt that is holding the fan shroud to the radiator, because we'll be using that to hold this bracket in place there before we put these guys in down here. I'm going to stop filming so I don't do a gravity test like I did earlier. Gravity test number 3 complete. This is some of the stuff that you will find in that bag. There's 2 of these little spacers. It looks like these need to go underneath down there, so that when all of this lines up, where we just remove that other bolt, it will be up like that. The bolts will go through those old mounting bracket holes with the rubber still intact, and that'll all get bolted in, ready for the entire assembly to fit. Ta-da! Now to find a way to put the nuts on the other side, along with 2 washers, 2 little washers. There's the final washer, 2 little washers up top, spacer. We've got 2 more large washers to go underneath. That'll help compress that rubber housing that's in the original bracket. I'm going to loosely attach this back to the radiator to hold it in place while I'm underneath. So after you've dropped a washer for gravity test number 4 or 5, depending on where you're at, you can wonder where it went and realize it lands right here on the top of the coil spring. It's good news, you can pull this back after retrieving your washer from landing on top of here. and you can access where those bolts are going through to hold that in place. All right, so at this point I have used a 10mm wrench with the 10mm socket on top and have snugged these guys up, holding the wrench over and around underneath and the socket on top, so it's just nice and snugged up. And I have cinched this one back up to the radiator mount, and we are fairly solid. As solid as we want it to be. Now we're going to put on the other stuff that came with it. Installing the rubber gaskets that came with it. Gonna need both hands to bend this as I'm going, leaving this right here. I'll bend this one. I think I might make a mark and just kind of do a pre-bend in it, just a 90-degree turn. And then when it gets here, I might snip it and put it down here. I didn't have to snip it at all. I just kind of lined up here, went around this direction, and made a 90-degree bend in it, moved it on around this way, and may have used a dead blow hammer lightly, gently, to finish knocking it into place. But now it looks like we are good to go, and that'll sit like it's supposed to. And then this one goes inside of here to protect that. So as you see, there's plenty of this gasket, this rubber this rubber gasket here. I'm gonna snip this section off and relocate it right down here to make sure I don't have any rubbing happening or occurring on this hose here. Gravity test mark. And we got the little valve in place right there. You want that in. I don't go too hard. I'll line those up. I'll tighten those up here in a second. At least I like having these on top so I can reach them from one side of the vehicle and not have them like down underneath doing something weird. And then this should line up over there. We'll see how that goes here shortly. Looks like these are both Phillips and straight, so whichever your preference. I'm not gonna put this one on real snug. I put the one on the throttle body snugged up already because we don't need it coming off. We're done with that part. Any other small adjustments here are gonna need to be made when we put the other part on. I'm kind of making sure that this is lined up at the edge of that rubber connector, so that it's a nice uniform thing. Make sure it's not going like an oval around it. This is a 13mm. That goes on a little spacer. You'll notice it's able to slide up and down as needed. So I'm gonna not tighten that all the way yet. Use one of the new clamps that came to reattach the PVC hose. And now we'll plug our sensor back in. stressed out. Ta-da!
That's going to wrap it up here for our review and install the Red Rock cold air intake with polished finish, fitting 2007 to 2011 3.8 liter JK Wranglers. Thanks so much for watching, and remember, for all things Jeep, be sure to stick with us right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.